The hospital was cold, too cold for a man whose world was about to crash. Desmond paced the corridor like a madman. His shirt was half-buttoned, his eyes red and wide like someone who hadn't slept for days. The doctors had rushed his wife Mabel into the emergency room. She was screaming in pain. Her second child was coming. "Do something! I pay all of you to save lives, not kill them!" Desmond shouted at the nurses, his voice shaking the building. One of the junior doctors tried to calm him. "Sir, please, we are doing our best." Desmond turned sharply. "Your best? Don't tell me best. I want results. If anything happens to my wife, anything, I'll shut down this hospital." Inside the room, Mabel's breathing was faint. Her skin had gone pale. Her strength was fading fast. The baby was coming too fast, too hard. Something was wrong. The head doctor looked at his team. "We're losing her. Get me adrenaline. Blood. Move. Move." But within minutes, everything stopped. The monitor went silent. Her hand dropped from the bed, eyes wide open, yet lifeless. The nurse covered her with a white sheet. "She didn't make it," the doctor whispered, removing his gloves slowly. Desmond felt something inside him snap. "You're joking, right? Mabel can't die. That's my wife, my heartbeat. We were going to travel next week. She just fixed her nails, for God's sake." The nurse stepped forward, calming him down. Desmond didn't even look at her. He stormed into the theater and collapsed beside Mabel's cold body. He touched her face like he could warm her back to life. He kissed her hand, over and over, whispering, "Mabel, wake up. I'm not ready for this. We were supposed to grow old. Remember? You promised to grow fat with me. You said we'd watch Elena become a big woman." The nurse quietly placed 3-year-old Elena beside him. Elena didn't understand what death meant. Close. She looked at her father, then at her mother who wasn't moving. "Daddy, is Mummy sleeping?" she asked with innocent eyes. Desmond choked back a sob. He pulled her close and whispered into her ears, voice cracked and trembling. "Yes, baby, she's just sleeping. But don't worry, Daddy will always be here for you. Always." He kissed her forehead, but his heart was bleeding. At that moment, something inside him broke. After Mabel died in that cold delivery room, Desmond didn't just lose a wife. He lost a piece of his soul. But he didn't fold. He poured everything he had, his time, his heart, and yes, his billions, into raising little Elena. And it showed. The mansion echoed with joy, not just wealth. Elena didn't grow up with plastic smiles and cold staff. No, her father made sure she had love, laughter, and all the tickles in the world. Even the maids adored her, calling her our little madam. The chefs would sneak her extra cake slices behind her dad's back. Sometimes, Desmond would come home from international business trips, drop his suitcases in the middle of the living room, and call out, "Where's my CEO in training?" And Elena would run down the marble staircase in her cartoon pajamas, screaming, "Here I am, Boss Daddy." They were inseparable. From Dubai to Paris, they traveled together. Desmond built empires during the day and read bedtime stories at night. His business rivals feared him, but Elena? She once told him, "You might be a lion in boardrooms, but to me, you're just my big teddy bear." Still, something was missing. On her 10th birthday, Elena wore a custom-designed princess gown. The compound was decorated like a fairy tale. Live band, fireworks, imported desserts, celebrities and politicians in attendance. Even the governor sent a gift. Desmond gave her a brand new white pony with a pink ribbon tied to its mane. But as she smiled and waved at the cameras, something tugged inside her. That night, when the guests left and silence returned, Elena walked into her father's private lounge, barefoot, crown-tilted, chocolate stain on her cheek. "Daddy," she said softly. Desmond, swirling a glass of wine, looked up. Ah! My birthday queen! You want one more gift, don't you?" She nodded, eyes serious. "Yes, but not for fun, for life." Desmond chuckled. "Okay, let me guess. A private jet with Hello Kitty seats?" "No," she swallowed. "I want a mummy." The glass paused midair. Elena stepped closer. "Not for you, Daddy. I know you're still in love with Mummy. I want a mummy for me, Someone to help with girl stuff, someone to tell secrets to, someone to paint my nails and teach me about periods and boys and life. Desmond blinked. Once, twice. I know you try, Daddy. You do everything. But you can't be Mummy. He said nothing. Just stared at her like someone who'd been shot but didn't realize it yet. Then she whispered, Please, you said I could have anything. Desmond forced a smile. I did say that, and you'll have it. But deep down, something broke. That night, Desmond stood in front of his late wife's giant portrait in his wine cellar. His silk robe hung loose, his eyes tired. I promised our daughter Elena anything, he whispered. Even the one thing I swore never to touch again, love. Marble, he screamed through sobs. What should I do now? She just asked for a mummy. 3 months had passed since Elena made that emotional request. Desmond tried. He really tried. He met women, decent ones, classy ones, women who smiled for cameras and said the right things at wine tastings. But none of them passed the only test that mattered, Elena's silent stare. She'd watch each woman with a polite smile but say nothing. And that said everything. But fate, or maybe the devil, had other plans. It was a high-profile charity gala hosted at one of Desmond's luxury hotels. The rich and powerful arrived in fleets of cars, gowns, sweeping red carpets, champagne pouring like water. Desmond didn't want to be there, but the event was in memory of Mabel, his late wife, and he had to show up. Elena stayed home. I'm tired, Daddy, she had said, curling up in bed with one of her mom's old silk scarves. Go, Dad. Be handsome. Make Mummy proud. At the gala, Desmond worked the room like a pro. Charming, dignified, untouchable. Until, Desmond? That voice, it came from behind him, soft and honeyed like it remembered how he used to breathe. He turned around slowly, and there she was, Vivian, dressed in deep emerald green, glowing, with eyes that had aged, yes, but not softened. If anything, they burned with secrets. Desmond froze, heart skipping a beat. Vivian? He muttered like he'd seen a ghost. Vivian Odu? She smiled, almost shyly. You still remember my full name? Wow. Guess I wasn't that forgettable after all. He didn't speak, just stared. The past never dies. They had history, college days, before Mabel, before fame, before fortune. Vivian had been his first real heartbreak, the girl who'd vanished one night without explanation, leaving just a torn note and a half-buttoned shirt on his bed. I didn't expect to see you again, he said stiffly. And I didn't expect you to become a billionaire, she laughed, tossing her curls. But hey, life surprises us. She had changed, poised, articulate, and yet something felt off. Her smile was a bit too perfect, her voice a little too controlled. But Desmond was distracted, curious, haunted. They talked, for long, too long. By the end of the night, they exchanged numbers, just for old time's sake. Not quite long after that surprise meeting at the charity gala, Desmond started smiling again, like real, from the heart kind of smiles. Vivian was back in his life, and this time, she came prepared. Soft voice, humble dress, gentle laugh. She didn't rush him. She didn't talk too much, just small, sweet gestures that made a powerful man feel seen again. Elena? At first, she was quiet about it, watching, observing. Her eyes said more than her lips ever did. But one rainy evening, Desmond sat her down. Elena, baby, I think it's time. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just blinked and nodded, then whispered, if it makes you happy, and if she'll be good to you, and to me, then okay. That night, Desmond cried behind his closed door. His little girl had become a woman without his permission. Within 3 years, Vivian gave birth to 2 beautiful daughters, Celine and Sandra. The mansion that used to echo with silence now giggled with baby laughter. Toys everywhere. Lullabies playing from speakers. Maids running back and forth with bottles and blankets. Desmond was glowing. The man who once cried in the hospital hallway now danced in his daughter's nursery with teddy bears in his hand. He took them on vacations. Sponsored their birthdays like it was a royal ball. Bought matching dresses for all 3 girls, Elena, Celine, and Sandra. He called them my angels. The family photos were perfect. Christmas cards, birthday shoots, social media posts. People admired their home like it was a fairy tale. Desmond said it himself one night at dinner, wine glass in hand, voice full of joy. My home is finally complete. I wish time could freeze this moment forever. And somewhere deep in her heart, Elena wished that too. Years passed like wind, seasons came and went. The little girls that once crawled on the marble floor of the mansion were now glowing young women. Elena, graceful and kind-hearted, had grown into a beautiful lady with calm wisdom in her eyes. Celine, the bold one, always with a sharp tongue and a smile that could melt iron. And Sandra, the baby of the house, gentle, playful, and stubborn in a soft way. That Saturday afternoon, the sun painted golden lines across the family's private poolside. The girls were in their swimsuits, feet dipped in the water, giggling as they gossiped about boys, fashion, and a new reality show. Elena, Sandra teased, splashing her, if you keep acting like our second mummy, no man will come near you, oh. Let them not come. Elena rolled her eyes playfully. I'll marry my books. They all burst into laughter. That kind of genuine laughter that echoed happiness. Not too far off, Desmond and Vivian sat under a shaded canopy, sharing a cup of vanilla ice cream. A maid stood nearby, fanning them gently. Desmond was wearing a relaxed shirt and palm slippers, rich man comfort. He looked at his daughters, then turned to Vivian with a deep sigh. Viv, thank you. He said it quietly, from somewhere deep in his chest. Vivian turned to him, her brows slightly raised. For what? For giving me peace. For giving these girls love. I mean, look at them. They adore you, even Elena. That girl, she never accepts people easily, but she calls you mum now like it's her first word. Vivian chuckled and pretended to blush. They're my children, Desmond, all three of them. He smiled, squeezed her hand gently. I know, you gave them something I couldn't, a woman's warmth. My first wife would have been proud of you. Vivian looked away for a moment, then dabbed a tissue at the corner of her eye. I just did my best, she said softly. Everything I did was for this family. Desmond nodded. Neither of them spoke for a while. Just the sound of water splashing, the girls' laughter, and birds flying by. Everything looked perfect. Months later, it was another bright Saturday. The family time again, Desmond wasn't around. He had flown to England for a big business meeting, but he made sure to call his girls that morning. Have fun, my angels. And Vivian, please keep an eye on them. You know Elena doesn't like too much crowd. Vivian smiled sweetly on the phone. Of course, honey. I'll take care of all your daughters. And just like that, the outing began. Vivian and the girls decided to switch it up. Let's go to the sea instead of our usual pool, Sandra had shouted, and everyone cheered. Even Elena had smiled. Let's try something new. They packed food, drinks, swimsuits, towels, and of course, Vivian's favorite oversized sun hat and sunglasses. At the beach, it was pure joy. They played like little kids, ran barefoot on the sand, took pictures, and even tried building a sandcastle. Then someone said, Let's split. This beach is huge. You and Elena go that way, Mum. We'll go the other side. Vivian flashed a smile. Fine by me. Elena looked at her younger sisters. Don't leave me with her, oh, she joked, laughing. But off they went. 15 minutes later, Vivian walked back, alone, calm, holding a small cup of ice cream, not a drop of water on her body, her makeup untouched, her smile too calm. Sandra turned to her and asked casually, Mummy, where's Elena? She went with you now. Vivian didn't even blink. Oh, she said she was bored, said she was coming to meet you people. She licked her ice cream. She should be here by now. That was the moment the air changed. Sandra looked at Celine. Did you see her? No, Celine said, eyes already scanning the beach. They began to search, first jokingly, then it became serious, then it turned into panic. They screamed her name, asked beachgoers, ran back to where they split, but Elena was gone, like she vanished into thin air. Desmond got the call in the middle of a high-profile meeting. He flew back the same night, and the storm began. He involved the police, the Coast Guards, the Navy. He spent money like water, bribed officials, hired divers, even offered rewards to strangers. "Bring me my daughter," he shouted, "dead or alive." Days passed, no sign of Elena, only the sea, rising and falling as if nothing had happened. And Vivian? Vivian cried too. She refused to eat, to talk. She was devastated. Days later, it was a cold, quiet night. The moon hid behind the clouds like it was ashamed of what the sea had swallowed. An old fisherman named Pa Morris sat at the edge of his wooden canoe, humming an old forgotten song. His fishing net danced slowly in the black waters, just like every night. He had no family, just the sea and silence. But that night, the sea gave him something strange. As he pulled up his net, he paused. It was heavy, too heavy. Not fish, not wood. It felt wrong. The net dropped with a thud into his boat. Pa Morris stared at it, confused. Then he saw hair. Long, black, soaked hair. He almost jumped into the water out of fear. Ah, wouldn't be this? Ghost? Mermaid? He took one step back, then another, ready to run. But something told him to look again. He squinted, then dropped to his knees. Blood of Jesus? It was a young girl, a human being, cold, lifeless, like a forgotten doll thrown away. Her body was bruised, her clothes torn, her lips pale, her skin had almost turned blue. Pa Morris whispered a prayer. His hands shook as he touched her neck. Nothing. He waited. Closed his eyes. Then, a faint breath. So faint he thought he imagined it. But it was there. She wasn't dead. Oh my God, she's alive. He didn't think twice. He tore off his shirt, wrapped her up, and began to paddle back to his small wooden hut by the rocks. He didn't sleep that night. He boiled herbs, covered her with his old blanket, talked to her like she could hear him. "Don't die, oh. I know who you be, but somebody must be looking for you somewhere." 10 days passed. She didn't speak, didn't open her eyes, just lay there, breathing softly. Until that morning. The sun rose gently, like it came to greet her. She stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, like they had forgotten how to see. Pa Morris rushed to her. "Ah, thank you, Lord. You wake up. My pekin, can you hear me?" She blinked. Tears rolled down her face. Then she whispered, "I want food." Pa Morris leaned closer with a soft smile on his wrinkled face, wiping sweat from his forehead. "You say you want food, eh? Oh yeah, no worry. Make I cook small yam and pepper soup for you. Something light, since your spirit still day weak," he said, standing up with shaky knees. The girl just nodded slowly, her eyes staring blankly at the wooden wall of the hut. She looked lost, like someone dropped from another world. As the aroma of the pepper soup filled the small hut, she sat up a little, wrapping the old brown blanket tighter around her shoulders. Soon, Pa Morris returned with a steaming bowl, sat on a low stool beside her, and gently fed her like a child. "You see as you day chop like say you no even see death face last week?" he teased. She gave a tiny smile, but it vanished fast. Then he asked gently, "My pekin, what's your name?" She paused, spoon halfway to her lips, eyes blinking. Confused. "Name?" she muttered. "Yes now, your name. Who you be. Where your family day." She stared at him blankly. Then she dropped the spoon, slowly. Her lips trembled, tears gathered in her eyes. "I don't know. I swear I don't know." Pa Morris sat up straight. "Wait, you know your own name?" She shook her head, now fully crying, silent tears like her brain was fighting with itself. I don't know where I am. I don't even know who I am." Suddenly, she screamed and held her head like something was burning inside. "Ah, my head! My head! It's spinning! Please make it stop!" Pa Morris rushed and held her, shaking. Hey, calm down. Don't do this. Breathe, my child, breathe. Oh yeah, look at me. Breathe." She panted heavily, sweat dripping from her forehead, until she passed out right in his arms. The old man held her tight like she was his blood. Oh Lord, what kind of wahala be this? This girl no only nearly die, now she don't forget her life. He looked out the tiny window toward the sea, then muttered with fear in his voice, "This is not ordinary memory loss. Somebody must have hurt this girl badly." Meanwhile, the once lively mansion felt like a graveyard. No music, no laughter, just silence and tension so thick, even the maids tiptoed when walking. Desmond was a shadow of himself. His face lost its glow. His voice now thunder, even when he whispered. He canceled board meetings, ignored business calls, rejected contracts worth billions. His personal assistant got tired of explaining to clients, "Sir is not available." But who could blame him? His daughter, his joy, his first fruit, missing, and nobody had answers. One minute they were playing at the beach, the next, Alina vanished like smoke. Desmond turned the house upside down. He yelled at the bodyguards, threatened the maids. Even the innocent driver wasn't spared. "Where were you when she disappeared?" he roared, eyes red. "Do I pay you people to decorate my compound?" They kept quiet, heads bowed. They knew better than to talk when the lion was wounded. Even Vivian wasn't spared. He stopped sleeping in the same room with her. He stopped talking. She tried everything. Cooked his favorite meals, bought him new perfumes, tried to hug him, but he pushed her away coldly. "I don't need fake comfort," he snapped one night, eyes dark. "The only woman that ever knew my soul is gone, and now so is my daughter." Vivian slowly walked away. She never returned to her usual routines. She avoided mirrors. She barely ate. She just existed. The younger girls, Celine and Sandra, stopped playing. They missed their sister, but they were also scared of the man their father had become. One evening, Desmond locked himself in his private study. The air smelled like dust and grief. He stared at a framed photo of his late wife, tears falling down freely. "Why now, Marbelle? Why did you leave me with all this madness?" He ran his fingers over the photo like he was touching her skin. "I promised to protect our daughter. I did my best, but I failed." His voice broke. He curled on the floor, holding the photo to his chest, weeping like a baby. That night, he didn't sleep, or the night after, or the next. It took months for him to stop searching, stop fighting, stop breaking things around the house. But even when he started showing up to meetings again, wearing suits and acting normal, he wasn't the same. He had become a man with a hole in his soul, a man trying to live with the unbearable pain of not knowing if his daughter was dead or alive. Pa Morris returned to his small fishing business. Every morning, he would go to the sea, cast his net, and return before dark. Life was hard, yes, but what choice did he have? Feeding himself was one thing. Feeding a grown girl with zero memories and a bottomless stomach? That was war on its own. "Blessed!" he always yelled. "If you eat one more plate of yam, I swear I'll marry you off to a fisherman with no teeth." She would just laugh and clean the plate again. No shame. She was now used to life by the sea. Everyone in the village knew her as Blessed, the quiet girl Pa Morris found floating like a lost mermaid. But that night, something shifted. Pa Morris was about to grab his net and leave for the night fishing when she walked out of the hut, barefoot, wearing a wrapper tied carelessly over her shoulder. "Sir, I want to go with you tonight," she said, her voice low but serious. He paused. Pa Morris looked at her and chuckled. "You? Go fishing? At night? Or you think the fish will fall in love with your face and jump into the boat?" But she didn't laugh. "I don't want to stay alone tonight. Please." Something about her tone made him nod slowly. She looked scared, like the night was whispering her name. They rowed the old boat into the deep side of the water. The moon was high, the sea calm. All was going well, until they returned. That's when the storm started. Not in the sky, but in her head. As soon as her body touched the mat, her eyes shot open. She sat up straight, her chest rising and falling like she had just run a race. Then she screamed, "Dad, help me! I'm drowning!" Her voice cracked the night like thunder. She rolled on the floor, gasping for air, clutching her throat like water was filling her lungs. Her hands slapped at the mat. Her legs kicked hard. Her eyes were wild. She looked like someone fighting ghosts. Pa Morris jumped up, terrified. "Hey, what is this? Blessed! What's wrong with you?" "I'm drowning," she screamed again. "Dad, please, don't let her take me. Please." "Her? Who is her? Talk to me, child." But she just kept yelling, coughing, crying. Then suddenly she stopped. She stared at Pa Morris, eyes wide and wet. "Daddy," she whispered, then collapsed, unconscious. Pa Morris froze, his heart pounded like a talking drum. "Wait, what did you just call me?" He knelt beside her, shaking. The name Daddy still echoed in his ears. Not Sir, not Uncle, not Pa, but Daddy. The girl who couldn't remember her name was beginning to remember something. But what? Or worse, who? And who was her, the one she said wanted to take her? Pa Morris didn't sleep that night. He sat beside her, holding a lantern, eyes red and watery. He knew one thing for sure. This girl's story was deeper than the sea itself, and somehow the waves were bringing the truth to shore. The early morning breeze whistled through the old wooden windows of Pa Morris's hut. Everything seemed normal, but Pa Morris knew that nothing was normal anymore. He sat by the mat, watching her sleep like a worried father guarding his only child. She had screamed all night, cried, coughed, then whispered "Daddy" like a broken prayer. Now she lay quiet, too quiet. Slowly her eyes fluttered open. She blinked, confused. Her hand touched her forehead. She looked around like someone seeing the room for the first time. Then she turned her eyes to Pa Morris, and what she said next nearly knocked the breath out of his lungs. Where am I, Daddy?" Pa Morris leaned back, swallowing hard. You called me Daddy again." She frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. I thought I was home. I saw him in my dream." He leaned in carefully. "Him? Who did you see?" "My dad," she whispered, then suddenly touched her arm. "And someone held me underwater. A woman. She smiled like she was happy I was drowning." Pa Morris went stiff. A chill crawled through his spine. He had heard strange things in his life, sea spirits, missing girls, lost memories. But this was different. Then she said something even stranger. His name was Desmond. She stared at the wall like she was searching for the name. "I think that's my father." Boom. That name hit Pa Morris like thunder. He stood up slowly. "What did you say?" "I said my father's name is Desmond," she repeated like she was testing the words. Pa Morris was speechless. Desmond? Desmond! He didn't know whether to jump for joy or cry. She is getting her memory back. And if she was, then who was the smiling woman drowning her in her dreams? That wasn't a dream. That was a memory. And that meant someone wanted her dead. Someone close, someone trusted. The room felt quiet, too quiet, but not Pa Morris's heart. It beat like a talking drum. He sat beside her, his old eyes wide and shaky. Her voice still rang in his ears. "Desmond! My daddy's name is Desmond." Desmond, a name he had never heard before. Not in his village, not in the next one. But something about the way she said it made it sound rich, powerful, sad. She was asleep now, curled up like a baby with no clue what her words just did. Pa Morris wiped his face with the back of his hand and sighed deeply. "I don't know who you are, girl, but maybe, just maybe, someone out there does." He couldn't rest. By sunrise, Pa Morris wore his only decent shirt, grabbed his walking stick, and locked his small door. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He just walked. Far. To the third village. A place filled with noise, traders, and a popular old newspaper kiosk near the market square. The seller there was an elderly man with thick glasses and a stool always tilted to one side. People called him Uncle Whale, the walking archive. Pa Morris approached with caution. "Good afternoon, sir," he greeted, breathing heavily. Uncle Whale looked up. Baba Morris from Ogbano village. You're far from home today? You came to read politics?" Pa Morris gave a dry smile. "Not today, my brother. I'm looking for something older than politics." "I need any newspaper from about 2 years ago, one that carried the name Desmond." Uncle Whale frowned. "Desmond? What happened?" Pa Morris shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but a girl I found and took in, she said her father's name is Desmond. That name, be like pepper in her mouth, full of sorrow. I want to help her, if I can." Uncle Whale leaned back and looked at him, surprised. "You took in a strange girl?" "Yes. I found her almost dead by the sea. She had bruises and no memory. But now she's remembering small. That name was the first thing she called out in her sleep." Uncle Whale became silent for a moment. Then he stood up and bent down to a big wooden box under his table. He began digging through old papers like a man looking for treasure. 30 minutes later, he pulled one out. Dust danced into the air as he opened it gently. His eyes grew wide. "Pa Morris, you won't believe this." He turned the paper toward him. Bold letters screamed, "Billionaire cries for missing daughter. Family torn apart after girl disappears at beach." The date, 18 months ago. The name, Desmond Dorovan. The picture, a man crying beside his 3 daughters, and one of them is missing. Pa Morris gasped. His hand flew to his chest. It was her. It was Blessed, the girl he called daughter. But her real name was Elena, and she had a family, a rich one, who never stopped looking for her. Meanwhile, Desmond sat on the hospital bed, his skin pale, his eyes sunken, his body weak like a child. This wasn't the Desmond everyone knew, not the strong, firm billionaire whose voice once commanded rooms. Vivian sat quietly beside him, her eyes always red but dry. She had cried all her tears. Now she just watched, helpless, as her husband slowly became a shadow of himself. The door creaked. Celine and Sandra walked in, their faces tight with emotions they couldn't bottle anymore. Celine folded her arms and said with a voice colder than ice, "Dad, you're not the only one who lost Elena." Desmond looked up slowly. "She was our sister too," Celine continued. "We all loved her, missed her. But why are you acting like she's the only one you ever had? Like we don't matter anymore." Silence. Vivian blinked. Desmond tried to speak, but only a thin laugh escaped, dry, sickly, painful. "Celine, you won't understand," he whispered. Elena is my strength." Sandra stepped forward, her eyes already filling. "So, what are we then? Your weaknesses?" Desmond turned to her, confused. "Is that what it is, Dad?" she said, voice shaking. "Because it sure feels like it. You look at us, and it's like you don't even see us, like we're strangers, like you're just waiting to die with her memory." Vivian stood, her voice calm but sharp. "Girls, that's enough." "No, Mom," Celine snapped. "We've been quiet for too long, watching Dad drown himself in sorrow, pushing us aside like we're invisible." Sandra added, "It's been over a year. We've tried to heal. We've tried to smile again. But how can we when he treats us like we're not enough?" Desmond looked at them, his lips trembling. His heart broke all over again. "I'm sorry," he said weakly. "But something inside me broke when she disappeared. You don't just lose someone like Elena and remain the same." "Then maybe you should stop calling us your daughters too," Celine whispered and stormed out. Sandra looked at him for a moment, then walked away in tears. Vivian remained. She knelt beside Desmond, took his hand, and looked into his eyes. "They're hurting too, Desmond, but they're still here, alive, fighting for your love. Don't lose them while you're mourning the one we lost." Desmond didn't reply. He just stared into space, then slowly turned to the side table, picked up the framed picture of Elena, and whispered like a broken man, "Where are you, my baby?" A moment later, Vivian's voice was calm, but her eyes had a sharp glint. "Desmond," she said softly, "I brought your will." Desmond blinked slowly, confused. "My will?" Vivian nodded, pressing her lips together in a fake smile. "Yes, sweetheart. I just feel, since Elena is gone and you're not doing well, it's better to fix things before it's too late." She dropped the envelope on his lap and continued. "Elena's name is still there as the sole heiress, but she's gone, Desmond. Let's not act like a ghost is going to run your empire." Desmond sat up weakly, confused and hurt. "Vivian, what are you saying?" Vivian chuckled bitterly. "I'm saying you should replace her name. Put Sandra and Celine's names there instead. I mean, imagine dying and then there's confusion about inheritance. You know how lawyers can be." Desmond swallowed hard, staring at her like she just ripped his heart open. "You want me to erase my daughter, like she never existed?" he asked. Vivian smiled, but her eyes were cold. "Not erase, just rearrange. Death already erased her." Desmond stared at the pen in his hand. His chest rose and fell as he tried to breathe through the emotions choking him. Well, he said after a long silence, if that's what you want. He reached for the will with a trembling hand. Vivian gently pushed the pen into his fingers. Please sign it fast. The time is ticking. Just as Desmond brought the pen to the paper, the door flew open. One of the doctors rushed in. Sir Desmond, he said, glancing from Desmond's face to Vivian. Madam, I hope you're not stressing him again. Vivian gave a sugary smile. How can I stress my own husband, doctor? We're just doing family things. The doctor walked to Desmond and gently took the pen from his hand. You need to rest. Your blood pressure just jumped. Desmond sighed and leaned back. He was too tired to argue. Then suddenly, his phone buzzed. A private number. Desmond stared at it. Something about it felt strange. He picked up the call. The voice on the other end was low, hurried, and trembling. Please, please, where are you at the moment? We need to talk about your lost daughter. Now. It's very important. Desmond's heart skipped. He sat up straight, strength suddenly flowing back to his bones. My what? He asked. Your daughter, Elena. She's not dead. Desmond's breath caught in his throat. Vivian noticed the change in his face and stepped closer. Who's that? What's wrong? Desmond didn't answer her. His eyes were fixed on nothing, his mouth open. Tears filled his eyes. The phone dropped from his hand and landed on the floor with a thud. Vivian bent to pick it up, but Desmond's voice stopped her. Don't touch that. Desmond? She asked, confused. His hand slowly lifted, shaking, pointing at her. Vivian's face twitched. The doctor looked confused as Desmond's phone hit the floor, but he didn't say a word. He slowly bent down, picked it up, and handed it to Desmond. Desmond's hands were shaking. Doctor, please, he said, his voice suddenly calm but firm. Send my wife out. I want to be alone. Vivian turned sharply. What? I said, Desmond repeated. Get her out of here. The doctor looked between the two of them. The tension was thick like storm clouds. Vivian hissed and stood up reluctantly, grabbing her purse. Fine, she said. I'll give you space to die in peace. As the door closed behind her, the phone rang again. Private number. Desmond picked up and snapped. If this information is true, then why are you hiding your number from me? Then came the voice that made his whole world stop. Dad, we just want to be sure it's you we're talking to. Desmond froze. His lips trembled. Elena, this is your voice. My God. Elena, is that really you? And then her soft laughter flowed through the phone like music. Yes, Dad, I'm alive. It's me. We're coming now. Please, don't tell anyone until we arrive. I want to look into your eyes myself. Desmond dropped the phone on his chest. His eyes welled up with tears. For the first time in months, he smiled. Just then, the door opened. Vivian walked in, now with a bottle of water in one hand and fake concern in her eyes. She sat beside him. Wow, sudden change in mood, darling, she said, sipping slowly. What happened? Who called? Or have you finally decided to rewrite that will? Desmond didn't even look at her. He just kept smiling and whispered under his breath, God, thank you. Meanwhile, at the local police station entrance, a cab pulled up and out came Elena, now known as Blessed, looking stronger, more confident, but with eyes full of fire. Pa Morris stepped down next, holding her hand protectively. He looked around like a man ready to face the devil himself. Uncle Whale, the newspaper seller, stood beside them, face stone-cold that with fists clenched. Behind them, 3 policemen with rifles hanging across their shoulders nodded at one another, already briefed and ready for what was about to go down. One of the officers leaned in. Are you sure about this, miss? You don't have to face her if you're not ready. Elena took a deep breath and said calmly, Sir, I've been ready since the day my memory returned. Today, she'll see that ghost she tried to erase. Back at the hospital, Desmond sat up straighter. Vivian was still there, watching him like a hawk. Suddenly, a knock. A loud, sharp knock. Vivian frowned. Who is that again? Can't you people let a dying man rest? The door opened slowly, and there she was. Elena. Vivian's mouth dropped open. She stood slowly, like her soul was trying to jump out of her body. What is this? Desmond gasped, tears rushing down his cheeks. Elena, my daughter. Dad, she said with a smile. I told you I'd come. Vivian started stammering. But this isn't possible. You were gone. Oh, really? Elena replied, folding her arms. Tell that to the beach you left me on. Behind her, the policeman stepped forward. One of them turned to Vivian. Madam, you're under investigation for attempted murder, false report, and attempted manipulation of inheritance. Vivian's knees gave way. I can explain, she cried. It was a mistake, Uncle Whale scoffed. Oh, please. Even Satan would be confused about which lie to believe from you. As they dragged her out, she turned to Desmond. You're choosing her over me? After all we built together? Desmond looked at her with tears and regret. She's the part of me you tried to kill, he said, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. Days later, the courtroom was so silent, you could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the witness stand. Elena stood up, strong but emotional. Her voice trembled slightly, but her words were clear. Your Honor, she began. That day, the day I was declared missing, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't my fault. She paused, glancing briefly at Vivian, who sat beside her lawyer, lips tight and face pale like cold pap. I and my stepmom, Vivian, we had just reached the other side of the beach when she told me, let's go somewhere far where no one can disturb us. I thought she wanted us to spend more quality time together, so I followed her like a fool. People in the gallery murmured. Elena's eyes watered. Suddenly, I felt something heavy hit the back of my head. I turned around and I saw two men holding me, big, scary, and smelling of alcohol. And my stepmom, she was laughing like a mad woman. Gasps filled the courtroom. She looked me in the eye and said, I saw the will, your father's will. I won't allow you to become the heiress, not while my daughters are still breathing. She paused again, her voice cracking. Then they hit me again, and that's all I knew. The judge leaned forward, fury on his face. Vivian Desmond, the judge's voice boomed. For attempted murder, child abandonment, and will manipulation, this court finds you guilty on all counts. Vivian stood up, shaking her head. No, this is a lie. I was only trying to protect my family. The judge scoffed. By beating a child and leaving her for dead, you have 35 years in prison to explain that to yourself. Bam! The gavel slammed. Case closed. Vivian screamed as the officers handcuffed her. Her daughters sat at the back of the courtroom, heads down, ashamed. As she was dragged away, she turned to Desmond one last time. Desmond, you promised me forever. Desmond didn't flinch. A moment later, the big black Jeep pulled up in front of the mansion gate. The guards rushed out, confused at first, until they saw her step out. Elena, her hair had grown longer, her eyes had seen pain. But her smile, it still carried the warmth of the sun. As soon as the front door opened, Celine and Sandra came running out like little children. They didn't even wait to speak. They just threw their arms around her, holding her like someone they thought they'd never see again. Tears rolled freely. Elena, I'm so sorry. Celine sobbed, burying her face in her sister's shoulder. We had no idea. We didn't know what Mom did to you. Sandra choked out. Please forgive us. For everything. For being blind. Elena hugged them tighter, her voice soft. It wasn't your fault. We were all victims of her wickedness. Let's just start afresh. The three girls stood there, in the middle of the compound, hugging through tears, just like sisters who were finally free from lies. Inside the house, Desmond watched from the doorway, his hands shaking as he leaned on his walking stick. My baby, the CEO in the making, he whispered. Elena ran to him, hugging him tight, her arms around his frail body. Desmond broke down, crying like a child, pressing her head to his chest. Daddy, my biggest teddy bear, I'm home. Desmond held her face. I thought I lost you forever. You brought me back to life, Alina. You're my strength. Later that evening, the house came alive again. The laughter, the music, the light, everything returned. Vivian's darkness was gone, and love was back. The three sisters sat by the fireplace that night, sharing stories, giggling over old memories, and making plans for the future. They had lost years, but now they had each other. And for Desmond, his heart was full again. Besties, did you see that? That's how the storm passed. The lies were buried, the pain was healed, and what remained was love. Because sometimes God doesn't remove the storm, He walks you through it. And as the sun set on their past, a new dawn rose on a future they never thought was possible. Thanks so much for watching this emotional journey with us. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, share with someone you love, and of course, subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Watch other amazing videos right here on this channel. You'll love them too. God bless you. I love you all. See you in the next one, besties.